G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm David. Today we've got a bit of an epic one. We're going to finally tackle all these rescued bougainvilleas that I've got in this half rainwater tank here. They've been in here for probably over a year. No, they'd have to be well over a year. Yeah, I need to get them out and get them into pots and start making some pretty major styling decisions to try and make them into bonsai trees in the future. Probably going to time lapse a lot of this because it's going to take me hours to try and get all these out. But anyway, initially we'll get the tank off, yeah, and just start digging in and we'll see what we get. Righto, let the fun begin. Start with this little fella on the side. Not real sure this one will ever be anything, but we'll get him out and we'll have a look. So they really haven't grown many roots, and that's probably because of the soil and how it dries out so easily. So a lot of these are going to be starting almost from scratch. But if we leave them in there, they're only going to continue to go downhill. So probably need to have a bit of a look. To me, that's going to be hard work to ever make that anything nice. But I'll chop this root off back here somewhere, and we'll just get him in a pot. That way he can grow and we can make other decisions further down the track. There we go. This one's done a little bit better by the look of it in terms of root growth. Not a lot, but so we do have this nice branch that comes back this way, and then we've got a shoot that goes back. Well, there's one coming out here that could be used. If our ground level was down here somewhere, that would give us a nice wide base. We could cut this off here and taper that up that way. That branch there looks like it might be half broken through. Trying to see if there's a better alternative. Looks all a bit weird from here. What about from the other side? Still got a lot that needs to be cut off. It's one of the problems that I'm finding is there's so many branches and they're big branches. You've got to make so many cuts and we end up with scars, but it's all part and parcel of it, eh? I think we'll look at possibly this as a potential front. So that'll go, that can go, and we may leave that one and these two and just leave that for a future thing. But we'll just clean that up, and we'll drop him into a pot, I reckon. Alright, I decided to take that second one on the run. And we'll probably angle it in the pot, something like that. try and get that curve, and then another branch going off this way. That'll come all right. This other one too, it should root from just a cutting, but with this pretty cool curve back this way, and that's a fairly vigorous looking branch, that one's got plenty of life in it. I just wonder if that might make a half nicent tree with the pretty serious bends and stuff in it. So I'm going to throw that in a pot too, and hopefully it will root. It does actually, it might even have some fibrous roots on there. If not, I'm pretty certain that'll root anyway. So yeah, we'll throw that one in a pot as well. It is hot and humid out here today. Bloody hell. All right, here's a little tiny fella. This fella's only little, but you know, you can work with your angles. It's got a nice twisted trunk. That might make a nice smaller tree. So we'll pot him up. Probably just, I'll throw him in a pot with one of the other ones in a big pot. But he's only small, but he's got potential. I'd rate that a better potential for a nice bonsai than the first one we dug out. So there's a bit more interest in it. This one's got nice coloured flowers, so, but it looks like crap. What are you going to do with that? I mean, you could potentially have your soil level here, cut that off. You got a nice curve back here, a little bit of a twist in there, and there's life here. There's life further up in that. I mean, there's potential there. The thicker trunk would be this one, or perhaps you could get rid of that, remove some congestion in the middle, get rid of all that. That's, it might be still alive. Try and back bud down here somewhere and have a trunk that way, and go for a trunk this way and have like a twin trunk style thing. That might be an option. Either way, that stuff goes. It's dead anyway. Maybe. I still think get rid of that. I'll cut that off with the saw. Cut that off with the saw, try and hide the scar. Aim for this as the front. Clean up some of this other stuff. And we'll go for a nice small size, oh well, it's probably not really small, medium sized tree. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do with that one. Right, so if we try and aim for that as the soil level, we'll let him recover obviously in the pot. We may take this dead wood off, but I'll leave it there for now in case we want to do something with it. But we've got this cool curve. We'll get back budding down here, I'm pretty confident, once it gets a bit of vigorous growth. But I reckon we'll probably just leave that as the main trunk line. And from there, we'll start branching out a nice little canopy. If we can get another branch off here somewhere, or just here, we can work on another pad of foliage out to the side. Depends on what it grows, but I think that could be a cool little tree. From that tangled mess, you can sort of see a trunk shape at least, and you can see the potential of a tree. But it takes that vicious bloody butchering. And it's taken me a long time to get to that point that I can just do that and be okay with the results. But we'll pot that up too. I know there is one absolute monster plant in the middle of this. I just hope I hope it's not this whole bloody thing, because that's a bit ridiculous. I can't see any other colour flowers other than purple, so this one might have actually died. Yeah, that's why that one's... Okay, so that's one that didn't make it, unfortunately. Probably could have had a cool little twisted trunk in that one too, but that's the way it goes. Crikey. I think what I'm going to have to do, yeah, I'll pot these two little ones up, and I think I'm going to have to loosen that up with the tractor. I think most of that that's left is one plant, which is a little on the crazy side. Jesus Christ. Yeah, right. I think I'm going to have to bring the hose over and try and hose some of the dirt out of those roots. At least this one does have a lot of fibrous roots, which is good. I mean, bougainvilleas, in a climate like this that really suits them, I mean, they grow that vigorously anyway that you can take them back to nothing. And most times they should reshoot no problem. The main reason I'm hosing all this dirt out is so that I can see the roots, see what I'm going to cut off, and to make it a little bit lighter and easier to move around, because this thing is just, it's too big to manhandle on your own almost. We need to make it a bit lighter. But a lot of these roots will be getting cut off. There's no way I'm keeping this much of a root ball, so. You drinking dirty water? Just trying to roll it over a little so we can get to the other side of the root ball. Crikey. Mate. Man, what a job. Jesus Christ. Just move that back a little. I don't know if you can really get a sense of the scale of this thing, but it's just ridiculous. I mean, there's not going to be anywhere near this much left of it by the time I trim a lot away, but it's just huge. So we've almost got all the dirt out now. Let's try and get as much of it out as I can, and then we'll stand him upright. And I might even get a set of pruners so I can go in a little bit gentler, trim away some of the outside growth so that we can see what's inside and what we want to keep and what we don't. I really do hope that there is something worth saving in here. I mean, I'll save something. I mean, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not just going to bin the lot, but I just hope there's something in here that looks pretty cool. Because otherwise it's a lot of work, but not a lot of reward. Alright, we've got the pruners for the smaller branches and roots. We should be right. Hose him out a bit more, and then we'll stand him up and have a look. Righto. Let's have a look. It's going to be so difficult. I'm going to have to just cut some of this crap back. So we've kind of got two wide sides. Like this side has this nice huge wide base across here that we could prune a few branches off and then use this trunk here, which has still got some nice size about it. And then there's another branch coming up here. You know, we could get some nice shape out of that from this side. There's a lot of stuff that would have to be cut off. There's always the potential to make other trees off the cut off stuff, especially with a bougainvillea. I don't know if this side, I don't know if the base itself actually looks as nice on this side. But there's this cool bit of a turn here that could be utilised for something. This down here, see, that could be a tree in its own right. It's only got a small connecting root there and maybe there. It's not really part of the main trunk, so I reckon we can cut that off for a start. Can probably use that as its own tree later on, but we'll definitely pot that up. Might do that. I might go around and I'll lop off a lot of these roots that are just out. Any of this smaller stuff that's not really part of this main trunk, and we'll come back and have a look and see if that opens up any obvious choices. Now, I don't know, will this actually cut that, or do I need the saw for it? There we go. See, and then that opens up. We can see a lot more in there, but this could be used as a tree in its own right. We may even lay it on its side like that. Could maybe go that way and try and do a cascade or a semi-cascade type tree. It's hard to know. But it's got some interesting angles and stuff to it, so it's another one to look at down the track. That, I reckon, because it's so straight, will come off. Just having a look in here. I kind of like this curve that's here. This may be a keeper. But if you have a look at sort of how wide that is, if we're using any of this as a front, this here is a lot wider than it looks there. So that's what they call reverse taper. So I'm going to cut that off. And there's one around the other side. Not reverse taper, but just one that I don't think we'll be using, which is this one. I'm going to cut it off. Because I'd say we'll probably use the taper up into here, and then maybe this branch back this way. I mean, there's a lot of dead knobs and stuff here that would need to be tidied up. Might clean up this one in the middle as well. Maybe a couple of the other smaller ones. Might lop all these roots back a fair bit, so we've got a chance of fitting it into a pot of some description. And yeah, I'll switch the camera off and I'll do all that work. Having trouble with everything overheating today, including myself. It's hot as buggery out here and quite humid as well. Welcome to Queensland. Yeah, so I'll do all that work and we'll come back and have another look. Righto, we've cleaned it up a fair bit more now. And for me, there's two ways we could go with this. And I think I may even leave it as an each way bet yet. So I like this over this side. It's got this cool bit of movement back here and then back this way. That's pretty cool, I like that. It's nice and wide across the base, but I don't think if we cut these two off, I think there's too much of a scar to have this as just a single trunk tree. I think it's going to have to be a twin trunk to make use of that wide base. And I reckon if we leave this here, and this branch here in particular, it doesn't mirror this one, but it sort of follows similar lines. So we could get a double canopy happening off each one of those, in which case I would remove this branch here and just go with that wide base there, get rid of that one and just let that grow and have like a twin trunk with half a canopy off one side and half a canopy off the other side, sort of thing, if you imagine that, and leave that gap up the middle nice and clean. That can make for a pretty cool illusion. It's not really an illusion, it's just the way it looks. From this side, I've cleaned up these a lot here so that they'll be less visible from this side if they're a front. So we've got some pretty cool taper, goes up towards this, and then it sort of comes back towards you a little bit and then away, back this way. So that's a pretty cool trunk line there. I'm not convinced about all the scarring, what we could do with that. I mean, if we do go with this side, we could get rid of all this other stuff at the back here and then probably angle those cuts away like I have with this one, so it's not as visible. And that would probably make not a bad tree, nice and wide, taper, 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 taper all the way up, and then have a nice ramified canopy up the top here. So I think I'd like to leave that major decision for now. However, I will take off all the stuff that's not necessary. So we've got a little branch here. The back of this one can come off. And that from the other side is not required. Yeah, and that there as well. So I reckon we'll just cut that straight off there. Cut this little one off. Make sure that's not being used for anything on the other side and get rid of that. The back of this one. And then we'll try and trim these roots up a bit more because there is still a lot of big roots, and I may as well just bite the bullet now because I know it will shoot back fibrous roots again. Yeah, so I'll turn this camera off again now and we'll get into that and then we'll check back in, and that should be just about it for the day. We can try and pot it up into something. Righto, a lot of wood's come off that. Crazy amount of wood. But this is one potential front. up into that branch, back and towards you a little bit and back the other way, and then branches up top. That's a potential front. It's obviously going to need a lot of work as well. And a lot of these scars that you see at the back here, if this becomes the front, that all goes. That goes. This here gets angled away from you so you can't see it as much. This here will get cleaned up. I just don't want to cut that off on that angle at the moment because I may cut the branch at the back. So we're leaving that for now. That bit in the middle can probably go, but it's so minor it doesn't really matter. And the other potential front is this way. So probably around here a little to minimise the scarring that we can see. I mean, we can probably tidy a lot of this up a little bit more yet, if need be. That's a separate branch there to that. So whether that's probably going to have to come off anyway. Soil level here somewhere, and sort of your twin trunk. Yeah, sort of your twin trunk coming up here, and both of them will match. And then all this at the back would go. It would be leaning back a little bit more, sort of like that. You know, so there's not too much scarring would actually be visible from the front if that was the case. But yeah, I'm gonna save that decision for another day. I'm gonna get this into the ground or something. I really don't know. I may even just plant the thing here again, but plant it in the ground. Actually, I might have to put it in the ground here again, keep the water up to it, and come back and dig it out in 6 months or so, and try and make some more styling decisions, because obviously there's still a lot of roots that need to be taken off. But I don't want to take too much off, because depending on which way the front ends up being, you know, we may leave some of these as surface roots. You know, if our soil level's down here, we may want those roots there. It's hard to tell until we work out exactly which side's the front, which roots we want, which ones we don't. So yeah, I think that's going to be the go. I think I'll put it back in the ground here, water the hell out of it, and just see what happens with it. Righto, that was an effort and a half. I'm cooked. I'm going to go inside and make myself a cold drink and sit down and do some video editing in the air conditioning for a while. Yeah, let us know what you think. I've probably got 8 or 9 decent looking plants out of it by the time I put up some of these other sections of this particular tree. Yeah, but they've all got, well, there's a couple there that aren't actually too bad. They probably aren't going to need a massive amount of work. They're just going to have to recover, and we can start working on some ramification and stuff then. Some of them are going to need a long time. But yeah, let me know if there's any that you think that actually have a bit of potential. But if nothing else, they'll be a nice potted tree with good colour when they flower. But I'm hopeful that we can do something with them. So I hope you enjoyed seeing the big bougainvilleas get dug out and massacred with the chainsaw. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.